Okay, Wednesday the 26th, Q4 cycle. So for news today, we've got unemployment claims. We've also got day one of the Jackson Hole. I'm not too worried about it on day one. It's mainly going to be Friday where that has some sort of effect on the markets for me. Coming into the daily, I watched ICT's markup of the charts yesterday, and it was talking about how obviously we have broken structure here. I didn't play into that so much yesterday, and I sort of failed to notice that, but now I have noticed that, and so I can look to trade bearish should that occur. Let's delete that. Not that. Go back to the daily and delete that gap so we're not trading within it. There we go. So as for price action yesterday, it was just that point of I got that perfect entry up here. I set that break even too early and I got stopped out. That was the long story short of it. And everything about my trade there was correct. I just set that break even. I got worried about that and I lost out because of that, which could have been obviously a massively profitable price tag. I'm just going to turn on my cursor within. Yes, because I realised that could be a bit annoying at times. There we go. So, coming into today, obviously still trading within this gap. If we actually look at quadrants of that, we haven't broken below this lower quadrant, but I'm not going to put too much attention on that at the moment. Now, as for targets, clear targets, proof stay high, proof stay low. Beyond that, you don't hit. I don't think we'll be targeting those today. Might not even be targeting down here, especially for the AM session. Now, 4 hour, obviously we're looking more bearish, that's clear. We take a look at YM, get that off there. We have got a sequential SMT here, but the overall trend at the moment is very bearish, and so I wouldn't necessarily want to just form a bullish bias off that on 4 hour. Now, especially just for the AM session. So looking at the 1 hour, obviously we got that sequential here again. We have also formed another sequential here, Tuesday, Wednesday. So I'm not denying we could be looking for longs today, but I'm not putting all my interest towards that at the moment. We did fail to inverse this gap here with that last hourly candle. At the moment, we are inversing it, but we're 10 minutes into that 1 hour candle. I can't put any thought towards that at the moment. We have ES reacting off that new day opening gap, new week opening gap, bearish. That is quite a key signature in price. But the other important thing is we have a lot of clustered highs in and around this area. That's a strong target for me. Same here with NQ. Doesn't mean I'm going to be trading up to there. If we trade down, we have targets to trade down, and that's the important thing. And obviously we've got NQ at the moment sitting at its new day opening gap. I'm not going to be worried about that at the moment. I'm putting more emphasis on that new day opening gap on ES. Having a look at 15-minute. I mean, it's just clear consolidation here for the whole of the London session. We did fail to manipulate those highs on NQ, whereas we did manipulate it and actually manipulate this high here yesterday. on ES. So we have actually then formed a bearish SMT, a sequential SMT in some regard on ES and NQ. And YM has also taken out all of that accumulation and consolidation. So there's not much for me to read into at the moment in terms of a clear direction. I would be leaning towards some sort of bearish move if we don't want to react off of these sequential SMTs here. And if we want to necessarily, I don't know if we want to sort of follow suit on these lower time frame sequential SMTs pushing us down, that would be my sort of analysis at the moment. Again, on 1 minute, I haven't got much to look at just yet. You know, with YM, we have again made a sequential SMT bullish here. I would, looking at the 1 minute, I would expect a move up at the market open, or at least some measurable move up into this sort of zone here, taking out these highs, maybe coming up to fill this gap here, which I assume, looking at 5 minute gap, yep. So maybe coming up to fill that 5 minute gap. We'll just have to wait and see. And we got that nested 15-minute gap within that. So that would be what I'm looking at here. Until then, there's not much for me to go off at the moment. I wouldn't be looking to take any trades now. There is the opportunity to maybe look to take a long up to here based on what I've just said. It's not something I'm going to be doing. It's not something I do. Tried to do pre-market moves, but for me, it never pays off because I tend to get my stop loss wrong with that and it's set out too tight. So I'm not going to be worried about looking for any entries there. I will be waiting post 9:30 and see what price does during Q2. Because obviously at the moment we're in Q1 of the microcycle. So again, just taking up range from 7 AM to 9 AM. ICT has been teaching recently. It does line up quite nicely. Just before event horizon here, you know, it would be quite clean for me if we could return up to this 0.5. We could return into this sort of zone to then look to take some trades down. Or equally, if we want to follow those higher time frames, sequential SMTs and move up, there's opportunities for me there as well. So I'm going to be heading for the charts now until 9:25, and then at that point I will get back on the charts, ready to put some positions on. realised my microphone was muted there. I haven't really been saying anything. I've been watching the markets, hasn't been much happening apart from the fact we have just got that move up that I was expecting, or at least expecting and hoping for. So we can see how the markets want to react now based off of that. YM is pushing down at the moment. It took out its DFR, same as ES, same as NQ, but NQ is obviously the one I'm watching at the moment. I basically just want to see, do our bullish sequential S&Ts hold here, or do the bearish ones hold? Because looking in technicality, we have all of this creating a bullish sequential S&T with YM. And so I need to be sure about how I enter here. Is NQ showing a fake move? Is it showing the real move? Historically, we'd say fake. But we need confirmation for that. And at the moment, it is perhaps pushing higher than I would like. So that creates more uncertainty for me. That's pushed a lot higher than I expected. I mean, if only I had have entered the the pre-market long I was talking about around here. That would have been a nice profit. But we'll see how price reacts here. We are pushing into that new week opening gap on ES. YM is pushing back up into its 1 minute gap. If I can get some sort of clean breakdown, could be a good opportunity to look for a trade. I'm going to even get up a 15-second chart on my other screen, just because I think that would be beneficial to have at the moment. So let's just get that up. But there's not too much for me to be looking at the moment. I'd only look at a 15-second chart when I see enough displacement on NQ here. Let's just get that there. So, yeah, we haven't had any 15-second inversions yet. And our main inversion on 15-second would sit at 241, which, you know, is about here. So, just for reference, we can see how price reacts here. And wherever we potentially want to look for some sort of inversion, some sort of move down now, we've got that major bearish sequential S&T here. Taking out those highs I was talking about, that's, you know, fairly good for me. We have just had that 15-second inversion. I won't be entering yet. Be a bit early for me to enter here. I wouldn't be surprised if price wanted to come up and retake that high after inversing on 15 seconds. I will get a position on, just marked up, just to be on the safe side in case price does run down and we want to enter that. But at the moment, it's looking to me like we want to come up and take that high again. And we have done on ES. Obviously, still holding the bearish sequential. But again, if we can hold this now, ES taking this high, NQ not. I know it's not a sequential SMT, but we've got about 10 minutes till Q3 anyway. So there's time here to be waiting, time to be sort of getting a better read before I want to enter. And we'll just drag that taper all the way down so I've got that there. So that's looking nice at the moment. Again, it's one of those cases where I don't want to be looking to enter. I did actually make a mistake there. I probably should have entered at 233 right here because 15-second broke structure. But what's that? 232. I'm going to get in there. I'm happy with that. Run entry. I'm just going to tighten that stop just to the high there. I could have waited there, but when we get these quicker moves down, I don't always like to. I like to sort of get in the market. Even if that means taking a slightly lower entry in this case. We just take a look at 15-second. I'll get a screenshot on my chart. That's what my entry is looking like there. And obviously we are pushing up quite a bit now to where I was originally looking at, but that's fine. I'm happy with this as a trade if this goes to a loss. That's too low. No. It takes all the boxes I need at the moment. So we can see what happens there. And again, I haven't got much risk on here. We can get a move back below here. I would set a break even, just because I wouldn't want price to push below my entry, and in return I wouldn't see that as something that would be validating my entry, so I'll just hold that on there just in case that's something I want to do. I mean, just in case price returns. Just have to wait and see, really. Becoming very range bound on the 15-second around the area that it's in at the moment, which would lead me to think maybe we want to come up and take the high. But at the same time, ES is getting quite high to it, so whether ES wants to take it and push down, I don't know. This also could just be forming bullish structure, and I was wrong here. But we'll just have to wait and see. I'm not going to be saying a break even instantly. Right now, be foolish. Especially when I haven't got much risk on here. So we have just had another inversion to the downside on the 15-second. It's always messy the 15-second though. And if the 15 seconds messy, the 1 minute definitely is, which at the moment it is being. And so I am actively choosing to not get out of this position. I've had quite a few opportunities now to get out of it, but for me, I'm happy to take this loss here. There's nothing really that's told me to get out of this position yet, apart from me maybe wanting to get out of it because it traded near to my stop loss. But if I'm following my plan correctly, I shouldn't be getting out of this at the moment. So I'm not going to. And I do, somewhat expect my stop loss to get run through, either that being on ES or NQ, I don't know. But if my draw is correct, it will be one of them. And I'm just hoping I'm on the right side of that in a moment. Which, ES is closer and ES has just taken it. So from this point on, if we hit my stop loss, my analysis was just wrong, and that's fine. That's something to just review later on or tomorrow and see how I can come back to that. So it's quite a nice position to be in now where I've had ES take that high. Again, not forming sequential S&T, but forming S&T. And it's all just being derived off the S&T for me here. That's all I'm driving this position off of. And a strong extension is down, and the fact that we had that move up, which I was expecting. As I said, higher than I was expecting. But I believe I got a low enough entry here. I had a break of structure on the 15-second, and I was happy to get in where I did. So I'm just going to move that just so I can see the position properly. So I'm not really worried either way how this position goes. Although I must say it's quite a poor start to the session in terms of price action. We've just sort of stayed range bound within this area after that initial move. But I've still had nothing to tell me to get out of this, really. I always pay attention to how ES reacts off of this gap here. Be interesting to see. Just had ES gap lower there, which is interesting. Well, we've got Q3 in a couple of minutes. We could just be setting up for a bearish S&T here, but really I've got not much to read on at the moment, other than that. Still, on AQ, I've had nothing to tell me to get out of this. ES is very much looking bullish at the moment. And there we go. Hopefully I can get a okay fill there. Not great, about 120 I think that was. Ooh, not high enough. 114, that's not so bad. So, yeah, I could have got out with that. Chose not to. Someone will have to come and review again later on, but I'm still happy with that as a position. I was happy throughout it. I was happy holding it. Just my analysis was incorrect there. Just one of them for me. But hey, we have losses. That's what makes trading trading. Can't trade and win 100% of the time. And that's that. So I will get off the markets now because I don't want to be looking at the markets any longer, because I find after taking a loss, although I can be all right in head at the moment, when I'm then looking at the markets, suddenly I then want to enter, which isn't something I want to do, obviously. And while I've got my level head, I'll get off the markets. I'll review them at a later date, see if I went wrong somewhere, because I'm open to being wrong. See if it was just statistical, and see if there was any other opportunities that came through at the moment where we are in Q3. There's nothing obvious to me that stands out at the moment. We've had no sequential S&T at the moment that stands out obvious to me. Obviously, we've only just got into Q3. I'm sure we will form some sort of tradable price action for me here, but it's not something I want to be involved with at the moment. But I was still happy that I knew I still wanted to trade higher than I expected, but still came to my targets. I tried to still follow suit in my plan of trading down, and price appeared to follow that for me at the time when I entered, but unfortunately this wasn't the day for me.